told to do this, and I don't want to
Oh.
forget.
Yeah.
So we've got a few absentees. I think Amelia's missing today's session because she's up to her neck in OPDs, and Harp's not available. Andy, Josie, and Louise are all off as well. So we are slightly depleted today.
Nice to see some friendly faces from Atlassian.
Hey guys, I think I've met most of you, or most of the Canadian contingent anyway. So.
Email.
There's Joe.
How's it going,
Oh.
Joanne?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
It's a normal
Cool.
kind of a Thursday morning.
So we've got the whole team from pretty much all over, or is this just North America, or?
No, this is everybody. So we have a weekly, so we have a bi-weekly all hands CS call. So when everybody kind of jumps on, and we'll do just various updates. Normally Harp leads the call, and he'll just let the team know sort of what's been going on, or things to be aware of in the future, or whatever it might be. And then we'll have other people kind of chime in with success stories or whatever it might be. Harp is at a management meeting today, and he was there yesterday as well. He's actually in the UK at the moment, so he's not available. So we obviously have you guys with us, which is great. So we'll let you guys start. The agenda today really is, I believe you guys are going to cover off, I think, Opsgenie, I believe, for however long it is that you need, and then once you're done, we'll move on to Kara's Corner, and then if we've got a little bit of time left after that, we'll try and cover off a couple of other bits and pieces as well. But I'll hand over to the folks from Atlassian who are going to share some stuff with us.
Sounds good.
Great, thanks.
Sounds good. And just, hey, Mike, just for introduction's sake, just so understand kind of the context of who's here. And so the folks that are on the line in Harp's team specifically are the account management organization for Adaptavist. And so once a customer comes on and they, reach steady state and things are going well, this is the team that reaches back out and makes sure that issues in terms of, or that things like renewals go without a hitch, or if there's an easy kind of product upgrade or user tier upgrade or things like that, like they're kind of focused on that incremental business. So they're kind of inside folks, kind of conversations and really work on kind of driving the customer conversation on an ongoing basis. So I think that, based on that, just kind of tailor your comments kind of appropriately so that they kind of understand how to, initiate the conversation around Opsgenie, and then hopefully, create some interest so that we can move forward to, start working those as opportunities.
That sounds good. Thanks, Joe.
Sure.
So let's see. By the way, I'm Mike Wise. For those of you who I have not met, I came from Opsgenie and have now been in the Atlassian family for about a year. So been working with Opsgenie for multiple years now. And now I have the joy of integrating Opsgenie into the Atlassian family. So so now I'm spending a lot of my time on JSD, working with Opsgenie, Jira Software, Confluence, integrations, postmortems, all that good stuff. So I can absolutely speak to how we fit within the entire Atlassian family and suite. And on that note, I will share my screen. And team, we're small enough here that if you have questions, please ask. And even Joe, if you want to throw in a couple things based on your experience as we go along here, please do so. So guys, when you think about Opsgenie and where it fits very much in the entire Atlassian for IT suite. And specifically, we think of it in the context of incident management. Very much whenever a major incident occurs, how do you notify the right people? And that's a core of what Opsgenie is providing, is that notification, that team-centric notification, that team-centric incident management. And really the reason we built Opsgenie was this statement right here. We live in an always-on world. And I actually use this as a qualification with my EAs before we became part of the wider Atlassian team was, do these organizations have always-on services? If the answer is no, then oftentimes Opsgenie is not a good fit. So if they absolutely have always on services, then yes, they want to make sure they notify. They want to lower that mean time to response. And that is absolutely where Opsgenie plays, is that lowering of that MTTR, and to ensure that people are notified via the right channel, the right mechanism, very, very quickly. And then a lot of flexibility around that. And if you think about what an incident is, just so we're all singing from the same sheet of music, an unplanned disruption of those services. And this is something that we see all the time. The cost of downtime is substantial. Mid-sized companies, about $1 million a year, over 60 for a large enterprise. So again, anything that can help to shorten that mean time to resolution absolutely will save our customers a lot of money. So the question is, what did we see? The challenges that we really address within Opsgenie and Atlassian as a whole, it's that lack of team practices and processes, and identifying what matters most amidst the noise. That is something that is key, that Opsgenie really provides in conjunction with the other Atlassian tools. The difficulty managing on-call scheduling. We see this even to this day, time and time again. People say, we do not have an easy way in order to set up those on-call schedules and do it at the team level. I don't want to have a central ITIL admin like you do in ServiceNow, where that person's responsible for all of the schedules across the board. Here we do it at the team level. They can control their own. And then having effective stakeholder and customer communications. So whenever an incident has occurred, to be proactive in order to cut down on the inbound tickets that have to be worked because you're already on it. So being able to automatically send stakeholder communications. And again, so we're all singing from the same sheet of music. Stakeholder is not somebody who's going to help you fix the problem, but it's somebody who's interested in the service that you're providing, and you want to be proactive. So we really have a couple of ways for effective stakeholder communication. One is within Opsgenie, where we can push out emails to stakeholders. We can also push out, if they're using an app, directly to that. And then the other way, and many of you are familiar with Statuspage, we have a tight integration with Statuspage, so you can be even more proactive and push out to the Statuspage and say, hey, there's a known incident. We're actually working on it right now. We do this at Opsgenie. If you were ever to go to status.opsgenie.com, we were using Statuspage before we were even part of Atlassian. And that's what we use to be very proactive to our customers. So that stakeholder and customer communication. And then, of course, team collaboration during an actual investigation is a very important part, and Opsgenie provides that. We have something called an incident command center, where responders to an incident across multiple teams can get on a bridge, just like we're doing here with Zoom. As a matter of fact, as of last week, we even integrate to Zoom. So we can launch a Zoom session automatically, or launch what we've had for quite some time, which is our incident command center, in order for responders to be able to collaborate during an active incident. And then the last part here, learning from the major outages. What happened? What caused it? Let's make sure that we have the post-incident reviews that can be captured in Opsgenie, and then, of course, published into Confluence as well. So this makes sense, guys? Any comments on this? Thoughts? Nothing surprising?
No, so far so good.
Okay, cool. So let me hit the next one here. So, of course, when we look at the incident management, requires that dev and IT ops work better together. So even when I show you inside the product the post-incident review, we can automatically link and display what Jira issues in Jira Software have been created as a response, in response to the incident itself. So that is key for us, is that both the dev and the ops sides work better together. And of course, across the Atlassian product suite, from JSD to Opsgenie to Jira Software to Statuspage, how those all work together in order to ensure that those teams work more quickly together. Our approach is very team-centric, okay? And by the way, a lot of people ask us, who's our number one competitor from Opsgenie? You may already know this. It's a tool called PagerDuty. We still see PagerDuty right and left, and they take a different approach. They take more of a services-based approach. They even just wrote a paper about that, team-centric versus service-centric. Our approach is very much on the team side, which fits very well into the Atlassian team-centric approach as well. Okay, so for us across the board, how is it that teams can be prepared to handle major incidents? Now, of course, we're looking at things like the detection and communication, the classification, the proper classification. This is handled within Jira Service Desk to ensure that classification is proper, that the prioritization is proper, that you also understand the impact things like plugins that are available out there from the likes of Riata in order to ensure that configuration information, CIs, are available, and that can all be passed through into Opsgenie as well. The investigation, collaboration, this respond and investigate and resolve in the middle here, this is very much where Opsgenie plays. So investigate, collaboration, then recover, verify, and resolve. These are all key areas where Opsgenie provides. And then the learning and improving, learning, sharing, and reporting as well, that continual improvement side. So for us, it's imperative that our customers really have an incident playbook. So they understand what's a major. And inside of Opsgenie, it gives you the automation to be able to send, automatically create an incident and classify it as a major incident. But there's an assumption there that the customers know what qualifies a major incident. You know, widespread outage, widespread impact, high severity, those types of things. So clearly defining what qualifies as a major incident is key up front. And then, of course, documentation of the major incident practices, the communication plans. All of the comms can be handled through Opsgenie, but who do you want to notify? Do you want to notify stakeholders via a status page? Do you want to have stakeholders that are notified directly through email, through Opsgenie? All of this automation is there in Opsgenie, but making sure that incident comms plan is created up front is important. And then ensure the best resources are on the team of teams. When a major incident is created inside of Opsgenie, it can send out to 40 teams if you wanted to do so, but that might get a little unwieldy, right? So ensuring that the right resources are available and defined up front is important. And then the post-incident review practices. And then it's imperative that post-incident reviews are conducted for all of the major incidents as they have occurred. And then publish and share those learnings. Obviously, that's where Confluence really comes into play, is to make sure that those are published. And then conduct, we even recommend that you conduct major incident simulation drills to go through and see what happens. I do this often with the classic Opsgenie customers, to be able to go through and run tests and see who's been notified, the proper enrichment. We go into a lot of detail to ensure that the alerts themselves are really enriched with the right information, so the responders can have that at their fingertips, literally on their mobile device, via email, however they want to be notified. Okay. Any questions on this so far? Okay. So I always like to see the products together in one place. This is very much what we're providing. If you look at the detect, respond, recover down across the bottom, of course, Confluence, especially in that respond and recover sections here, providing runbooks, post-incident review directly into Jira Service Desk. So obviously issues come into JSD, and then in turn, of course, that can integrate directly into Jira Software. The IT ops teams are using both JSD and Opsgenie. Now, what you're going to see here on the left, just to the left of Opsgenie, is alerts. So Opsgenie has over 200 different integrations. Actually, we're about 250 right now, to all sorts of different monitoring tools that are out there. Everything from the likes of Nagios to Zabbix to basic monitoring that's available, to the likes of APM tools, application performance management, the Datadogs, the New Relics, those types of tools that are out there, so that we integrate directly to the monitoring, and then we can send alerts to the responder teams. And then you can also set up rules within Opsgenie that says, hey, if I get a synthetic transaction out of New Relic that is saying that my core service is unavailable, then let's automatically fire off a major incident based on that. And then in turn, let's start correlating additional data that's coming from other monitoring sources, or even issues that we're seeing coming in directly from users in JSD. Let's correlate that together. And then in turn, launch that automated response as per the communication plan that hopefully has been established up front. And then of course, status page for that external communication as well. So let me pause for a second. Any questions on how Opsgenie fits within the classic Atlassian core solution set here for JSD, Jira Software status page?
Mike, I had a question.
Sure.
I'm wondering if eventually will you be talking with the team, because we deal on a daily basis. I find it very interesting for us, this Opsgenie presentation. I'm trying to see eventually in what situation will we be able to talk with our clients, because as you know, like we're handling like day-to-day like questions from our clients. So do you have any recommendations, or will you be talking maybe later in the presentation in terms of personas, like what kind of, let's say, individuals or stakeholders should we be expecting to have these conversations with? Because you mentioned dev and IT ops, so I'm trying to see, are there any like specific personas that we could try to identify within each of our accounts, so that eventually we'll be able to initiate this conversation?
Yeah, just off the back of that, sorry to interrupt, just off the back of that, it kind of linked as well is, and I'm sure you're going to come onto this, or it might come out as you go into the presentations, but it'd be interesting to know the kind of the top key qualification questions that we could be asking to, you know, to look out for particular gotchas to identify who suitable candidates might be.
So let me address a couple of those, and then also to mention, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong here, but of course we have out on the partner portal, we do have a lot of Opsgenie documentation, including the personas and a lot of the common objection questions, things like that. We have published all of that. So you should be able to find that fairly easily, okay? But let me go ahead and address it because it's a great question. You know, who do I talk to all the time? I am absolutely talking to NOC directors, Network Operations Center directors. Those are people that we talk to all the time. We talk to when I say service providers, meaning internal customer service providers. They want to ensure that they're, like I said, lowering that mean time to resolution, and that they're being very proactive with their communications. So any type of IT ops director, you will definitely spend a lot of time talking there. The NOC directors, frankly, we often get into even up higher. For some organizations, we're talking to CIOs that come in, but probably the folks that you're going to be talking to the most are going to be folks that work in the NOC, the directors, IT ops, those types of folks.
And I think just as a bridge to that is that, you know, the core user of Jira and Confluence, kind of our core products and the things that you guys would interact with, is most of the folks that live on that software development side of the house. What Opsgenie does is it opens up, and this has been a conversation. If you see the kind of some of the kind of nomenclature, or, you know, some of the big presentations that talk about, you know, landing or having a solution for IT teams, that's exactly where this falls into. And so the folks that build the software and run the software, all of that stuff that Jira's kind of core functionality addresses, this starts moving into teams that are sitting next to them, sometimes disjointed, but yeah, in that whole DevOps infinity loop picture, they're the folks just to the right there. Those IT teams that are running the systems and making sure that things are up. And so if a system goes down, how do they respond? That's what an incident is. You know, if you get a flat tire, the incident is like called AAA, you know, so you know, something's not working right, something's not performing right. There's a set of people that are responsible, that get paid to respond to that in an appropriate amount of time, in a service level amount of time. What Opsgenie does is helps really, you know, distribute those notifications out so that people know something's down and they need to activate on that. Now, what that activation is, that's where Jira Service Desk comes in. You know, maybe the ticket's getting logged, or you know, maybe an issue or a bug gets created inside of Jira. Like, that's where it plugs back into the core products. And so this is very much something that comes and sits alongside what they're currently doing inside of their Jira or Jira Service Desk. So I think in that light, it's when you're talking to, you know, the folks that own the applications in Jira and Jira Service Desk is, you know, how do your teams respond to the incidents? Is that your entire team, or is there somebody else in your organization that does that? And then everything else around there, you know, when Mike talks about, you know, retros and things like that, those are actually documented and managed inside of like Confluence and other tools. And so what Opsgenie does a fabulous job of is kind of creating these additional high-value features and then plugs back into Atlassian core tools. And so it very much is like, it fits so well within the current tool set in that conversation. It's just asking a few more questions to hopefully open up that opportunity.
Thank you. And very good. Thank you, Joe and Mike. And what about, like, you were asking Mike about this picture that you're showing on screen. So I find it very clear, and it's always good to have an image. So in this case, do you find that, let's say, the client needs to have, let's say, at least Jira Software, Jira Service Desk, Confluence, or they could have only a few of those and Opsgenie will still be relevant for, let's say, our clients, right?
That's a very good question. Opsgenie can be relevant with any of the additional pieces, or it can be relevant without. Okay. I have customers who integrate Opsgenie into other ITSM solutions that are out there. I'm working right now on a proof of concept with a customer who has Freshservice, as well as we have Jira Software in place already, but instead of Jira Service Desk, they have Fresh. So we're using that.
So you mean, when you mean without, so technically you can have none of, let's say, Jira Software, Jira Service Desk. We could start a conversation just based on Opsgenie, correct?
Yes, you can. And I will tell you that typically, of course, we see Jira Software everywhere. And Joe said it a second ago, and I want to highlight that as well. Opsgenie is an excellent foray or entry point into Ops.
Okay.
Okay. And we see that all the time. I even see where people will start to implement Opsgenie, and then they'll start asking us questions, because we can integrate to ServiceNow, for example, and use Opsgenie as that automation, collaboration, and communication layer for any ITSM tool that's out there, Remedy, Fresh, as I mentioned, et cetera. Then, and I've had 4 recent conversations with very large Fortune 500 customers who have said, you know what, let's go back and look now at what JSD can do in place of ServiceNow. So
Okay.
I've had that level of conversation.
Very interesting. And so I'm thinking at the same time as you're talking, for example, since our team is really like going on site to meet the future or existing clients, are there usually like ops user groups that we could eventually go to? And like, how does the community work for these kinds of, I don't know, I'm not familiar with the term. Is it ops community? Like,
That like, Kim, is that an internal question, or is that like instead of an Atlassian org, like a user group kind of a thing?
well, that's what, because Joe, we're trying to always be there on every like org user groups, but I'm trying to I know there's like say agile groups that's in Montreal, so I'm trying to see, is there should I be looking for ops groups? Is that how the terminology I should be looking for in the market?
I would look at ITIL or ITSM.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah, but then the Atlassian user groups, absolutely. There's a lot of them that are extremely familiar with Jira Software, and presenting this capability at those orgs is important as well.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay. And Kim, I will say as well. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, Kim, maybe it's a topic for one of the Montreal orgs, one of the upcoming orgs. We can maybe bring Mike or have somebody talk to the integration of Opsgenie into all of our stack. So yeah.
And not just Montreal, right? As you know, like each of our account managers is very close with the local org leader. So the goal would be to, after this presentation, try to brainstorm how we can afterwards reach out to our community. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. All right, let me go ahead and click on the next one. These are very good questions. Now, a key component of what Opsgenie is providing, as I was mentioning a moment ago, if you think from left to right here, those services and applications, the ops teams have monitoring in place. They have that monitoring can be from a wide variety of sources. One of their biggest challenges is alert fatigue. They get way too many alerts that come in. SolarWinds is one I see all the time that just constantly bombards the responders to the point that they ignore it. And often leading indicators of a potential incident are ignored or missed completely. And it's very much what Opsgenie is providing, is sending all of those alerts into Opsgenie, and then it can do things like deduplication. It can do things like rudimentary correlation at the service level in order to ensure that teams are responding to things that are real issues. But that deduplication, especially for the likes of Nagios or SolarWinds or AWS, CloudWatch, those types of things, is a fundamental bread and butter of why a lot of organizations implement Opsgenie at the very beginning. Okay, so it's very much helping to dedupe and do that. But then, of course, if you look at this, it also is bringing in at the bottom the user-reported incidents through the portal in Jira Service Desk becomes yet another input, as well as the alerts that you see at the left of the Opsgenie circle. That is all coming into Opsgenie, and Opsgenie then in turn handles the automation and the collaboration. And you see on the right side of that circle, email, push notifications to the mobile app, text messaging, and that goes directly to the IT ops teams. It can go directly to the dev teams so that they're only being alerted on things that are truly in their purview, that are meaningful to them. Okay? Any questions on that? Does that make sense? Cool. Okay, so we say this all the time, connect Opsgenie with the tools that are used every day. Everything from, GitLab, of course, to Pingdom on the left, all the way across to Status Page. We have substantial API integrations, email integrations. I've seen everything from doctors' offices using Opsgenie to Tesla, and everything in between. Lots of organizations that are using this in order to do the foundation that I'm talking about here. So it's designed to give you that actionable insight so that you can really have that faster time to acknowledge and respond. And of course, what you're seeing here, grouping alerts, filtering out noise is key, enriching the alerts with actionable insights. Like I mentioned before, I'm often, and for those of you who know ITIL and ITSM practices, we're enriching with specific information where you might get an alert that says increased network accessibility errors, but then you can parse the CMDB and enrich the alert to say, here's everything that's being impacted by this router CI and all the relationships downstream, enrich that information in the alert so they can see that literally from their mobile device. And then being able to do things like automated actions to run remediation. So it's one thing to lower your mean time to understand, but then to actually respond. Would you like to be able to, if somebody's running inside of AWS, automatically restart an EC2 instance? Or if they have something that's on-prem, they can literally restart a server or restart a service. So you can include those automated actions and playbooks to say, here's the steps that should be taken, and then you can even automate that if you'd like to do so. So it's good to be able to have that. We get a lot of questions about these automated actions as well. Okay. Then the on-call side, knowing who's on call, this is, again, bread and butter stuff, but the key is the teams are doing it. The teams are setting their own on-call schedules. The escalations, that is key to ensure that somebody's taking action. So immediately you can notify your on-call user and say, hey, you've got an incident that's occurring or an alert that's happening here. Then if that user doesn't do anything, like acknowledge the alert, after 5 minutes, let's escalate it to the next user. And then after 10 minutes, let's hit all users. The teams get to control their own escalation, and you can even base escalations on things like priority. If it's a P1, all hands on deck, instead of waiting 5 minutes, let's go 0 immediately, and then after 1 minute, let's notify the next user, and after 5 minutes, let's call all hands on deck. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to ensure that somebody's taking action. And then, of course, being able to integrate that with the runbooks that we see that are written inside of Confluence. That's a key area that we see often, enriching the alerts with literally the Confluence link. Inside the alert, boom, here's your runbook in Confluence. They can click on it, there it is on their mobile device, have that at their hands. And then, of course, that external communication with Status Page as well. So let me pause. I would like to show you what this looks like inside the product, but so is this hitting the mark for you guys?
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. I'm excited to see it in the product. Yeah.
You got it. Absolutely. Another comment?
So I was just going to ask, how's the general uptake been on Opsgenie in terms of, since you became part of the Atlassian family, in terms of the general uptake? Have there been any really significant differences there? How can you talk us through sort of the kind of organisations that have been taking it on since you became part of the Atlassian community?
So in general, let me see if I understand your question correctly. What's it been like for us as part of the Atlassian family, and what types of organizations are we engaged with?
Yeah.
So obviously we're getting a lot of uptick for existing Atlassian customers. Part of the reason we became part of the family for Atlassian is we were already tightly coupled with Jira, and we were tightly coupled, and the DevOps community was using Opsgenie because it's very much, even though it's an ops type of platform, it was designed from the beginning for DevOps teams to be able to use, hence the really robust APIs that we have available. So I can create alerts directly from an error statement or an error condition in a log if I'm an app developer, and they do that all the time. So we had people also who were integrating just with Jira Software so that when an issue was created, they would automatically notify their own team. So that part we're expanding on our capabilities from Jira. But what we're doing now, as hopefully you're seeing here, is we're really using this to expand our what we're coming to market with within the ops side. So hence the Atlassian for IT with Opsgenie at the core with Jira Service Desk as well. So what I'm seeing though is, like I kind of mentioned a moment ago, we're seeing a lot of opportunity now to introduce Jira Service Desk into a lot of other organizations that may already have an ITSM solution in place. But in general, we're seeing more and more users being sold for existing Opsgenie accounts or customers that we already had, but then we're really engaging across the Atlassian install base and building on the success we've had with Jira. Okay, so what's this look like? If you've never seen Opsgenie, this is very much our alert dashboard. And as I mentioned, you get this consolidation of alerts from a wide variety of sources. It allows me to be able to see if I'm integrated to Nagios, there's my Nagios alerts. So I can create views. If I'm integrated to AWS CloudWatch, there's my CloudWatch alerts. If I'm integrated to Slack, anything that's coming in directly from Slack, I can see that as well. I can also slice and dice it by team. What is, in this case, I don't have the SRE, but any type of team that might have, this is my disaster recovery team. If I'm integrated to other sources, other things like the count. I mentioned deduplication. This particular alert that you're seeing here at the very top for SAP has occurred 15 times. The only time that the notifications went out to the responders was the first time this happened. Then when the same conditions are met, it just comes in and automatically increases the counter. So when you see these types of numbers, or 31 that came in from Datadog, that very much is where people love the fact that the responders, those knock responders, love that they're not being inundated with the same information over and over and over again. And if I drill in on something like this, when I talk about enriching the alerts, right? So they're very clean. You see this exact information on your mobile device, including you can embed metric graphs. So yeah, they're saying CPU load is high. Okay, that's exciting, but I can see that right there on my mobile. And you know what? This normally runs in this range, and boom, this is spiked up quite a bit. If I in turn want to go back to the source, in this case Datadog, we include the link. So they can click on it, they can log right back into Datadog. Exact same with a wide variety of our integration. So good example here of enriched type of alerts and what that looks like. Now, if you want to see, and I'll show you an example here, let's say that I'm in Jira, and I'll just come in here to Jira Service Desk. Of course, I sat too long. Oops. So I can be an agent creating, I can go through the portal. I'll just give an example here of a simple one. So let's say that an IT Ops, in the IT Ops project, an incident has been created. And I'll just do something simple, SSO errors on ABC. So all of this information, including if I had any linked issues, the priority that's coming in, et cetera. So I'll just set this as maybe a high. We'll go ahead and create that. And then if I go right back into Opsgenie, and we'll go to my all view, there we go. So this automatically alerts, it's hitting the ops team, and it will follow the escalation that's in place. Everything that happens is being tracked. From the moment that it was created to the fact that we're sending it to chat ops into Slack. In my environment, I've got a little ServiceNow, I've got MS Teams, a little bit of everything. I also sent, that was created, here's the creation point directly from Jira Service Desk, and then it shows me who it's notifying, even to the point of being able to view it. I would tell you that the team on-call managers love the fact that they can see, look, Mike viewed this, and he viewed it on the web, but he hasn't taken action yet. So including that timestamp. So all of that tracking of the activity is something that the ops teams managers really, really appreciate. So here we go. I've seen that. Let me go ahead and acknowledge this. Okay. And in my environment, I've got everything being sent to Slack. So you can see that even the acknowledgement was sent over. So if I have a team working inside the Slack, they can see all the activity associated with this alert. And then in turn, I can do things like take a note. You want to type back to the agent over in JSD, hey, I'm on it. Boom. I'm just going to hit add note. All right. And then if I look at my Service Desk window right here, let's tab back where it belongs. And this one was 87. And then you can see here inside of the comments, this is all being synced. So you can see that I acknowledged it and I set a note that said on it. All of this configuration is done inside the Opsgenie UI. There's no coding here. I say, you know what, whenever I acknowledge, I want that to be added as a comment. Whenever I add a note inside of Opsgenie, I want that to be added as a comment. If Mitch says great, and whether it's shared with the customer or a simple internal comment, that of course is going back in. And notice even the synchronization within Slack, that automation is done directly via Opsgenie as well. So I'm just going to refresh this. So fostering, enhancing that communication for the responder teams, the folks on call, as well as agents, all of that is what our customers really look for Opsgenie to do, is to facilitate that communication and collaboration. Okay. And then of course, if somebody comes in and does, let's say that they actually raise a request. Somebody come in and say, you know what, I've got to report a production system issue, SSO errors causing issues with payroll. That's exciting. So let's just go ahead and say that. And yep, this is high and it's having pretty significant impact. We'll just create that. And here we go. So what's happening now, because of the way that I have this set up, you saw an example there a moment ago where it was just simply, we had SSO errors on a server that went to the ops team. However, when something is impacting payroll, I want to automatically generate an incident. So here I'm notifying not just the ops team, they're the owner, the O here, the owner of the alert, but then I wanted to notify the database team, the application support team. So now you have an incident that has been created because it's impacting a service, i.e. payroll, and I even have it tagged as a payroll production issue. I've set it up as a P1. You saw that automation. I just keyed in off of, I set this up so that it keyed in off of the situation here with payroll, and it automatically creates all of these responder alerts. As I mentioned, we have an incident command center embedded. So I have a dedicated ops team room, and here I can open this up. This is designed for when a major incident has occurred, then you can fire into this incident command center. You can see who has been invited, application support, ops team, and DB. I'm representing two, hence if I hover over, I'm representing ops and application support. Whenever these additional teams acknowledge, you're going to expect other people to click on that link. One click, boom, they're in. They can do it from their mobile. They can do it from right here on their desktop as well, as you're seeing I'm doing. But not only can I automatically launch this, everything that is happening is being recorded, right? To the point that I can assign roles. I can go in and say, okay, I'm going to be the incident commander for this. And then from there, I can do additional roles. During this major incident, who's my comms officer, right? Who's my scribe? Whatever roles I want to set, I can set up roles, and all of that is being audited and tracked. So you can see who was the scribe during that period, et cetera. And then in turn, if I want to notify my stakeholders, right, I can add additional updates. This went out, came from Jira Service Desk originally. If we want to be proactive and say, we're on it, 30 minutes estimated time to restoration, boom, fire that out directly from the comm center in order for your stakeholders to be updated proactively. Okay. Also related to that, the moment that I created this, I automatically fired over some incidents. There's the one I did just a moment ago, SSO errors on server ABC. So through the integration with status page, you can be even more proactive and push this out to external communications on your status page directly. Okay. So let me pause. Talked about a couple of things there. Questions on what I'm showing you here on the major, hopefully this makes sense. This is key to our communication and collaboration for major incident management. Okay. The last thing I'll mention to you is, of course, because everything's tracked, we can run analytics. This is included with Opsgenie as well. So you can see things like how many alerts have my teams been dealing with. But even more important, related to the services, if I want to look at post-mortem reports, right? I said there was an issue in billing. This was a post-mortem that was done on a previous one. So I can drill in and see, we can detail what was the lead up, what was the fault detection, any attachments that we had during the actual incident and the working of the incident, any related incidents to this. And then if we have follow-up tasks directly in Jira, we can add the Jira issues right here. So you have one spot where all of this information is contained for that post-mortem, again, back to learning from what caused the incident. And then, of course, this information will be able to be passed over to Confluence if you want to publish it there as well. So again, that bringing that full circle back for the post-incident review, having this post-mortem report related to that incident, and then everything from the timeline was automatically captured. Everything that we talked about earlier that you saw inside of that war room, that's all being captured. If we had roles, everything else. Excuse me. So let me pause. Hopefully that gave you a little taste of what Opsgenie can do. Are there questions?
I think, hi, this is Kara. I think one
Kara?
question that I've got is I'm just trying to connect everything we've learned here, and this has really been fantastic. It's so helpful, especially to just see how it works. To connect that with when a client is looking for pricing, I know that we need to know how many, I usually call them users, but I think the actual word is responders.
That is
And
more-
then and then there are a few different plans, essentials and standard. And I wonder if you could speak to that a little bit, and just any tips for us in, as we're talking to clients about what they need. Anything that'll help us be clearer with them and get the quote quickly, because we've asked all the right questions at the start.
Absolutely. So by the way, a majority of our customers are standard or enterprise. End of story. Very few. This isn't worth your time. Up to 5 users, right? Essentials doesn't give you enough. Enterprise gives you everything that I just showed you, the incident management. So if somebody says, you know what, I love that collaboration session you just showed me, they're in the enterprise plan. Okay. If they want to have incident management like I did, where I automatically generated an incident because it was impacting payroll, it's impacting a service, that's enterprise. If they don't care about major incident management and they only care about alerting, for example, they want to integrate to SolarWinds, or they want to integrate to a monitoring tool that's out there, and they want to be able to hit on-call users, send that over, that's the standard plan. Okay, and you can go down and look at the detail here under the features. So a lot of, number of alerts, unlimited, both plans, email notifications, push notifications, unlimited, these are all the same up to here. Additional SMS voice notifications, free, right? It's when you start getting down into the differences in incident management that it's different. Service-based organization, enterprise. External services, service status pages, service subscriptions, etc. Okay, so hopefully that addresses at least the plan aspect and gives you a little bit of a sense of that.
Yep.
And then the numbers per user per month, these are very much those responders. Think of responders as the people who are going to help you work a problem. They're your on-call users. They're not your stakeholders. Your stakeholders are people you just want to proactively notify. We don't charge when somebody's in the enterprise plan. We don't charge for stakeholders. So you could have 500 stakeholders and you could push out to them. Now, you do have to create them inside of Opsgenie, but they're not billable users. They're not responders. So does that help on the users?
That does. That really does.
Okay. Very good. And then, of course, just like all the rest of Atlassian, we include calculators, so you can go in and even look. It's tiered base, et cetera. So you can see that right here. Okay.
Mike, what do you say of limitations? Have you seen, or questions, have you seen some clients asking, let's say, that they were looking for, they haven't been able to find in Opsgenie, and would make them go, let's say, PagerDuty, for example?
When it comes to technical functionality, it's really a difference of approach. I will tell you, PagerDuty is getting very aggressive right now. I'll just say they're getting very aggressive. That's a good thing. They see us as an absolute threat, especially now that we're part of the wider Atlassian suite. But we do not lose on technical functionality. As a matter of fact, most organizations love that we're so DevOps centric. And again, I'm just hitting the very top of what Opsgenie can do here. But we spend a lot of our time as a team really getting into the APIs and making sure that Opsgenie becomes that absolute hub in order to keep your ITSM tool, your monitoring tools, and everything synchronized with one another. That's where people really look to Opsgenie for that automation. And then, of course, the communication and collaboration, that collaboration through the Incident Command Center. PagerDuty does not offer an Incident Command Center that looks like ours by any stretch of the imagination. When it comes to that type of collaboration, xMatters is probably one that's much better. But people don't typically turn to PagerDuty unless it's at a relationship at a very high level.
Okay, great. And then afterwards, what happens, let's say, once, let's say, they purchase it, in terms of like, is the roadmap like often updated? Are they informed, let's say, of what's coming in the next few months?
Yeah.
And in terms
Yep.
of support, what kind of like support is offered to the Opsgenie customers once it's purchased?
So you have a couple different questions there. So one, the first one in terms of announcements, we announce right in the product. So I'm hovering right there in the lower left corner. We do announcements directly to them. So mass notifications being removed, new UI for mobiles on the way. We push that out directly into the product so people can see it. Okay. So yeah, roadmap, things like that, typically pushed out into here. Your second part of your question, repeat it for me, please.
I believe it's like in terms of support, like do we expect some kind of like they will be asking support questions or not?
Whenever they ask for support, if you look down here, so admins get access to our support team directly within the product itself.
Okay.
So, and all of that is also available in our terms of service in terms of what they get. So if you just look at opsgenie.com/TOS, you can see our terms of service. But this for enterprise customers, 24/7. We have folks that are in EMEA. We have folks here in the States. One of these gentlemen sits right next to me. So they initiate directly inside of here. They, of course, also go through support.Atlassian.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions? I realize I've taken most of the time, and I think you had other items on your agenda for today. So
it's all good. It's all good.
No, thank you very much. Thanks very much for taking the time to show us that. That was really useful. We've taken recording as well, so we can dip back into that and look at it again if we need to. I think we've got Joanne and Joanna. We've got your details. Mike, I'm guessing yours is mwise@atlassian.com. I'm guessing. Yeah, that's it. Or just go to Joe. He knows how to hit me easily. So. Cool. Yeah. Good stuff. Well, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. We'll speak to you soon. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Okay. And then there was 13. Cool. So, Cara, did you want to do your Cara's Corner for 10 minutes or so?
Hi. Yep. Sure thing. Let me share my screen. And all right, so updates required. We're doing so good with this. Way to go, everybody. We have no updates required. There's always like a few pop up at the start of every month or whatever, but for the most part, I think we're doing really, really well. So that's fantastic. I probably need to talk to the finance team or somebody else, like figure out are there any other mistakes we're making that we can prevent, but really, really well done. So that's fantastic. Account maps and plans. We are to the magical 50 account ready maps and plans, which is really great. And then after that 50, how good is my math? We have some more. What, 15 and 7 is 22. Looks like 22 if they were completed and we get that account plan or that plan ready label on there, then we could be even higher. So way to go, everybody. Really excellent work with all that. Sam has given me just a couple, or Sam and Carly and others actually, on like, hey, can we change the template to look like this or this or this? If you notice anything else like that on the templates that you'd say, oh my gosh, I'm always changing this thing, and if it could just default, if the template could have it in such and such a way, that's a really easy fix to make. So totally open to suggestions there, but that's really excellent. And then I wanted, in terms of other updates from around the business, working with strategic initiatives. We'll have more to talk about quote automation in coming weeks, but I can let you all know about a way that we're going to change renewals just a little bit. So what we've done in the past is we have done a run of tickets for upcoming renewals for like the upcoming year. And we were going to change that over to be something that happened every time we close a ticket. We essentially create like a cloned forecast ticket for the next year that would guess about the prices and all that kind of stuff, so that way Tom Lasperini and Harp and others could have some guesses about like how much do we have as like a possible in our pipeline for renewals for the upcoming year. Because with the quote automation, ultimately, we're going to get away from subtasks. I promise it'll be a really good thing when we do, though. So I know that's really scary to hear because we're so accustomed to subtasks. we wanted to start with dealing with reporting in a different way, which then frees us up to deal with renewals in a different way. So instead of having tickets made a year in advance that says, hey, this renewal is coming up, instead, every month we'll get an email that looks like this. And this one is like a test. It says Sam, it's actually Lou. It's like very early stuff. But at the beginning of each month, we would all get an email that looks like this, that would list any licenses that are going to expire in like the gap of like 100 days from now to like, what is that, 80 days from now. So like, you know, each month you'll get like the things that are a little bit more than 3 months out. And so that way you can create your own ticket. The nice thing about this email, if you scroll over, you can see the previous opportunity. So if you still want to use that clone function, you can. If you don't want to clone the ticket and you just want to start a new ticket and say, oh, look, looks like Sapient needs a ticket and I've got to include all of these. If you click on this, it'll take you to Metabase directly. So, you know, Lou would say at the start of each month, I need to make a Sapient ticket, I need to make a Pret ticket, and I need to make an Uber ticket. And then she can reach out to the client about all of those. And then, of course, you can click on the company or look up the company directly to see, are there any other renewals that are coming up over the course of the year that we might want to co-term or whatever. So this is kind of like our first step of moving more toward relying on Metabase as opposed to relying only on Tracker for renewals and stuff. It's not exactly sorted out exactly right now. So everything is going to go on like normal. We just need to get it in place before the end of, I think, October, because that's when our forecast tickets start to, like, we don't have forecasting 3 months after October. So this is a thing that's coming. I'll be blogging about it and we'll have lots of good instruction, and of course we'll have excellent documentation, but I just want to let everybody know this is kind of the first move that we need to make as we get toward more quote automation in the coming days. So that's kind of that exciting update. And that leaves us with 8 minutes to talk about OGS. Does anybody have any questions? I should say, does anyone have any questions about any of that? Good. Excellent.
Thanks,
Back to you, Sam.
Thanks, Cara. Yeah, just quickly before I'll hand over to see if anyone else has anything they want to cover the last few minutes. Just another reminder, please. In terms of updates on sign-ups for the Script Runner Tour, I think the one that we have the most sign-ups for, I think, is New York, and we're on about 18, I think, at last check. Now, obviously, we're only 2 weeks away, and we like to try and oversubscribe, although not massively oversubscribe, but we want to oversubscribe a little bit because we generally expect about 30% of people who sign up to not attend. We want 30 people really in each. I think the Dallas one, in fact, only has about 8 people signed up. So we're really needing to try and see if we can help boost those numbers, because you know it's a big initiative that we're doing, and it was really successful last time, and we got a lot of key clients come out of it. So if you could refamiliarize yourselves with the event page on which has a list of all the people that we've invited so far. If there are other people that you think we should invite that would be a good candidate, please add those in and let them know personally if you've already got a relationship with them, and send the link for them to sign up. If you could make sure you keep an eye on that over the next couple of weeks, please, because it's coming up pretty quick. Okay. Cool. So we have a few minutes left. Now, I reached out to Omar and Veronica and Karen, respectively, about a couple of events that they were at in the last few days. I don't know if any of you want to talk about what you did for 3 or 4 minutes, or if you wanted a bit longer, we can push it to another one. It's kind of up to you guys, really. We've only got 5 minutes left or so.
I don't have too much to say, so I'll just sort of start off. So yesterday I went to the DevOps AUG. That was the first AUG set out in the region, in a new region. Not everybody would be familiar, but it was out in the Peel or the West region where I live now, where Veronica lives. And it was pretty much a replica of what was delivered down in Toronto the day before. So Veronica probably speak towards that because she went to that. For me, I think it was good. although I do believe that it's their first one, so they needed a bit of time to like figure out like the setup and the flow of things and all that sort of stuff. So I didn't really pull too much value from the flow of things, but it was a good way of meeting people. They were speaking about, you know, DevOps and the continuous loop and the things that we saw in those slides that we had from onboarding at the beginning. The challenge that I had is they broke up two actual groups, which was one was talking about DevOps, one was talking about culture. But they never like gave any signification like, hey, we're starting these groups. They had a break and then people were just chit-chatting and all of a sudden some people were in the group. So it didn't have like maximum participation, I should say. But I mean, other than that, I was able to meet some of the Valiance people and meet different people, which was a good thing. And obviously they all say hi to those that they know. But yeah, that was all I could really talk about. But there was some value in some of the conversations to see how people are working in their organization, for sure.
Cool. Thanks, Ovar. Veronica, Karen, did you want to add anything for a couple of minutes?
I think for the Toronto one, I mean, they have been doing them for so long, so the organization of it was pretty good. As far as the DevOps conversation itself goes, to me, it was pretty beneficial. Like, I found the presenter was pretty interesting. He had a good presenting voice, so it was pretty easy to pay attention to the flow of things. And as someone that's still new to the technicalities of, like, everything that we deal with on the day-to-day, having that conversation and presentation of, like, what dev operations actually is about was really helpful, because I feel like when I first went over it in my training, I had no idea how to apply it at all whatsoever to the qualification calls and conversations we have with clients. Whereas when we went through it this time, it just stuck a lot more. It made a lot more sense. As far as the groups, I didn't participate. I actually ended up talking to one of our org leaders in Toronto instead, and we were just kind of talking about her use of Jira and her issue with some partners and so on and so forth, which was really helpful and beneficial and nice to hear. And then I think Carly kind of asked the main question of what Harp wanted to know was like what TAMS would say their value to partners is. So I don't know if Carly wanted to kind of paraphrase what they said, or if Harp's just going to send out an email about that. But basically they said they weren't really there for us, but they'll help us when they can in the general scheme of things. There wasn't really much more to it than that.
Yeah, I agree. It was like the first thing she said is, well, we don't really add value to the partners. Our number one priority is the clients. And then exactly what you said, like if they hear of, and then she went into, if we hear of opportunities, of course, we'll recommend the partners.
Yeah, the jury's a little bit out on TAMS, I think.
Yeah. It was a very like diplomatic political response.
Yeah, it's
very well rehearsed, very well delivered. She used fancy words like symbiotic. It was really nice. I'm like, oh, that's impressive.
I think they've been asked that question before. Yeah, well, they're just at the prices, which is good for TAMS. So, yeah. Cool. Well, we're more or less on the hour. We could probably wrap this one up now, unless anyone has anything else they want to quickly add in.
Well, I think just like the deadline for the price increase is coming soon, so October 3rd. So I would recommend for you all, like as you know, like Atlassian has been having a lot of delays or some mistakes. So it might be good to recommend to your clients to do their quotes this week, so that eventually next week you'll have some time to either make modifications, or if there's any last minute clients who just happen to realize there's a price increase. So make time to have some buffer for those next week. So I would recommend to try to really put some pressure on your clients this week to reply to you, even if they have to make modification, let them know that within the next 48 hours, whenever you submit a quote, to tell them that please review and let me know if you want to make modifications. Otherwise, the new price model will be applied starting the end of next week. So it's good to put a little pressure because you're actually helping them. So by saying like, please review right away, this will help you as well, because you'll be having a lot of pressure next week. So I recommend to do it right away and put some pressure yourself on your clients. Okay.
Yeah. And just off the back of that, with the issues that we have been facing, that iPage I set up, if you do see it, if you do encounter anything, I put an iPage in the client services chat yesterday morning. If you do encounter any issues, if you could document those, because even small things, like we're seeing a lot more at the moment, and we get that they're under pressure, but we want to try and really want to make sure that, you know, we can make things easy for them. So if we can identify where they're struggling a little bit, they can hopefully focus on those areas, because yeah, obviously the last thing we want is getting to the end of this month and stuff's going missing, or we're not getting responses back, or whatever it might be, all sorts of things that we've seen over the past week or two. So if you could take a look at that, please, and if you've got anything to add, please do contribute.
I can't remember offhand, Sam, on the sheet because I'm not looking at it, but is there a column that speaks about possible or resolution if it was already resolved? So just so you can see the loop close, and when you're feeding that back, they can at least see, okay, it may have been resolved, but they may want to look to see that could have been resolved in a better way, whether that's internal training or having a conversation with a specific person who handled the ticket. I'm not sure if there's a column for that.
There's not, but you can edit it. So if you want to add one in and you want to add some comments there, then by all means feel free to.
Yeah, just in all fairness, I got one that's pretty much resolved because another person jumped in when I sent a new ticket in. And so I think it's fair to at least speak towards that to show the sort of full scope of it.
Cool. Nice one. Yeah, thanks, Omar. Cool. Right, we're on the hour. So we'll wrap this one up. So thanks very much, everybody. Hopefully the opportunity session was useful. I'll upload the video once it's once it's downloaded onto our homepage. And if we don't speak before, enjoy the rest of your afternoons, evenings, mornings, and I'll speak to you later. Everybody.
Thanks, Sam. Bye. Bye, guys.